Welcome to Hawksong Weaving. My name is Took. I'm a disabled genderqueer weaver who works exclusively with thrifted and secondhand yarn, and today I'll be weaving a stole with a meaning behind it and talking a bit about what being disabled and genderqueer means for me. I hope you enjoy. Life takes odd turns, but even tattered and worn yarn still has value. Tired joints and health flares don't have to stop the journey. Welcome to Hawksong Weaving, where all our paths are a little bit warped. I preface this video to say if you're going to leave a hateful comment, thank you so much for the engagement. It really helps boost my channel to folks who actually want to see it. This shawl is a personal project for me. I was inspired by a piece of art an artist friend of mine made. I'll link his Instagram below. This shawl is called Cracks in the Pink. I chose a base color set of multiple shades of pink, from mauve to bright sparkly pink to crimson to one that was in the shade of my favorite lipstick for a while. And running through the warp and weft of pink is a gleaming blue, teal, and purple yarn that describes my existence of being transmasc agender. Some terminology for this video. Trans folks have an extended metaphor around eggs. An egg is a trans person who hasn't realized that they're trans, they're still in the egg. When they realize they are trans, their egg has cracked. Often with the nomenclature of, oh, this and that, or so-and-so broke my egg. My egg was starting to crack during the summer of 2020 when I downloaded TikTok and caught the end of the Byrit trend. But there were some cracks in the egg well before that. I definitely engaged in what's called egg behavior. My egg behavior looked like desperately trying to figure out girlhood and then womanhood. I was raised by trans-exclusionary radical feminists who had a very internalized view of masculinity, unless performed by a woman, as being a bad and dangerous thing, and it really messed me up for a long time. They'd likely protest being labeled as TERFs, but if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, and spouts the same nonsense as a duck, it's a freaking duck. But I thought that everyone hated being a woman, being perceived as a girl, and I thought that my hatred of that was making me a bad feminist, and eventually someone was going to catch me out. Turns out, nope, a lot of women love being a woman. I just wasn't one. I've been unpacking a lot of this, but I realized at a young age that as a blue-eyed, blonde-haired girl, I could trade sweet femininity for safety from my peers, with the adults around me. I was undiagnosed autistic, so I didn't know what was quote-unquote wrong with me, but dang if my fellow children didn't know and make my life a living hell for it. It was easier to bat my eyes and look up and say, I want to sit and listen to the witty banter of adults, than it was to go play with children who actively hated my guts. I tried so many different fonts of femininity, trying to make one fit. I tried rebellious tomboy, but that didn't feel right. I tried super feminine makeup, but that was not a right fit either. I tried hypersexual librarian, that was really not right, not just because I'm asexual. Finally, I settled on cottagecore bisexual cis woman, but even that was just... It's like when your food has a really unexpected crunch in the middle of a smooth textured dish and you're really hungry. You've got to eat, but there's a fear that you're going to bite down on something that's not right, and when you do bite down, that crunch throws the entire meal off. That may have been the most autistic sensory issues explanation ever, but it gets the point across. I didn't know that non-binary or broadly genderqueer were legitimate options until I downloaded TikTok. Like I said, I'd grown up with TERFy lesbians, and they were both very binary in their respect to gender, but there wasn't any room for nuance. And when my best friend came out as non-binary on Facebook, both of them laughed and said that they'd call her they-them to their face, but agree behind closed doors that it was incredibly stupid. So my egg didn't crack until TikTok, and I didn't fully crack until I met my partners, and my relationship with them created a safe space to start questioning things. Over the years, I've gone through a couple different labels as I figured out the wibbliness that is my gender. I started feeling out not being non-binary, but that wasn't right. Then I wondered if I was a binary trans man, but that wasn't right either. Okay, trans masc non-binary, that fits, right? But I didn't have the amount of gender dysphoria that all of my loved ones were struggling with. So was I lying to myself? I didn't mind being gendered as a woman while selling my weaving, or being accurately gendered as the eldest daughter at a thrift store. That was a very interesting experience. Throughout all of this, I was talking with people who were familiar with egg behavior, who knew me as a teen and young adult, and it was really validating. I'd gotten a lot of variations of, yeah, I'm not surprised. You were trying too hard at being a girl, and you got really excited when you had to bind your chest for that one role in Dracula. I played Renfield. I got to speak in a Cockney accent and flirt with the maid. It was so much fun. Finally, I learned about the concept of agender and neuroqueer, which was a breath of fresh air. Yes, that. Just let me be me. I don't care what you refer to me as. I'm just going to be over here making my body more comfortable for me and acknowledging that part of my particular spectrum of autism means that at my core bit of being, I don't understand gender as applied to me. And that's okay. I understand that gender applies to other folks and that they feel really strongly about that part of their identity. For me, it's meh, while acknowledging that I like being perceived as sort of a guy and chasing that gender euphoria. Part of that is how I dress, but a large part of that is putting androgel or testosterone gel on my upper arms each morning, and the double mastectomy that I'm getting in August. Here's the thing, even if I wasn't getting gender euphoria and feeling so much better and regaining control of my body and presentation as a genderqueer and disabled person, I'd still want to be on testosterone and get top surgery for the positive side effects from my particular health issues. My gender, or lack thereof, is really tied into the other large aspect of my identity. I'm disabled. In particular, I'm disabled with a genetic collagen disorder, hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, that through life has cascaded into postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, or POTS, and mast cell activation syndrome, MCAS. I don't get gender envy in the typical sense. I don't see a person and go, wow, that's the gender presentation I want. I see a bowl of thick bone broth and go, wow, the soup has more functional collagen than I do. And for me, that's gender envy. And thankfully, trans masc gender affirming care has some really great side effects regarding that collagen envy. Being on testosterone has drastically improved my postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome by leaps and bounds. I'm able to drive again. I'm able to exist in summer without passing out. Admittedly, high humidity still kicks my butt, but testosterone has helped with the POTS so much. POTS is much more common in assigned female at birth people due to blood flow and blood pooling in the abdomen. Testosterone shifts the patterns of blood flow so that it reaches my extremities much more easily and strengthens the blood vessel walls so that they're able to maintain blood pressure more easily. And it's helping with the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome too. Testosterone aids in muscle development. That's why it's a controlled substance, because gym bros misuse it. My joints don't stay in place on their own. I'm in physical therapy doing exercises that will help build the muscle around my joints, so between that and the exoskeleton of braces I'm developing, I'll be in much less daily pain. And the daily pain is part of why I'm getting top surgery. Yes, there's the usual back and neck pain from being an H-cup, but there's much more pain than usual given some medical issues I've had throughout my teens and adult life. I won't get into the reasons too much, but due to life circumstances and a side effect of the medications I was prescribed for the wrong diagnosis, to no one's surprise, the assigned female at birth child in the 90s was slapped with a generalized anxiety disorder diagnosis rather than the actual autism and CPTSD. I've been mildly lactating since I was 16 years old, and I've been struggling with chronic mastitis and pain that entire time. It wasn't until this past winter, where I had a breast cancer scare, that I learned that the doctor who saw me when I was 16 gave me the worst possible advice to deal with the lactation. Do not self-express once a week. That will prolong lactation. The horrified looks I get from my current set of doctors is both very validating and very depressing. The good news is that it's not cancer. The bad news is that it's almost constant sharp stabbing pain from the buildup of mastitis-induced internal scar tissue. So even if I wasn't transmasc agender, I'd want these chopped off. They hurt constantly. I'm incredibly lucky and fortunate to live in Northampton, Massachusetts, where I can be my true self and access the healthcare I need. There's one surgeon in Massachusetts that doesn't have a BMI limit, which has been proven over and over again to not have an effect on top surgery, and will take folks with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome and autism. All of those syndromes can affect anesthesia due to rapid metabolism, so often surgeons won't touch us unless it's an emergency. On August 20th, I'll be going in to see Dr. Joyce McIntyre at the Worcester UMass Memorial Hospital. I'll be kept overnight for observation due to my health issues, and the next day I'll be home for recovery. The next few weeks after that will suck. I won't be allowed to shower until the week after, and I won't be allowed to lift my arms over my head until September 11th. But once I'm healed up, I'll be in so much less pain. A year afterwards, I'll be healed enough for tattoos. I'll be getting tattooed flowers with personal meanings growing out of the scars. So what does this mean for the YouTube channel? Not much. I've got enough videos that will be posted while I recover, and afterwards I'm planning a few videos about relearning to weave after a double mastectomy. I'm holding off on weaving on the Clement floor loom until I've recovered. Between the heat and humidity and having to relearn the physicality, it doesn't make sense to force my body into that right now. If you'd like to help support me during this, I'll be posting my meal train link down below. I'm the house husband, so my not being able to cook and clean for a bit will be deeply annoying. My partners and friends are going to be a huge support, but even with all of my earnings from Hawksong Weaving this vending season going towards the $5,000 that my insurance won't cover, things will still be really tight. For my chronically ill and disabled followers, it's July! Happy Disability Pride Month! Remember, if something is going to give you a better quality of life, it's worth pursuing. Whether that be adaptive weaving methods instead of knitting, gender-affirming care that has positive side effects, or anything really, go after it as much as you can. We're stuck in malfunctioning meat sacks. We might as well decorate and remodel them if it makes us feel better. The finished stole turned out really well. The multitude of pink represents the different attempts at girl and womanhood, while the teal, purple, and blue yarn sections among the pink represents the stops at non-binary, trans man, and transmasc non-binary I made along the way, with the hand-stitched teal, purple, and blue being the cracks in the pink egg. The ends are stiffly sewn black velvet ribbon with red stitching to show the bars of feeling trapped and broken in a body and assigned gender. I'm so glad for the odd turn that your path took that brought you here. Thank you for spending time with me at Hawksong Weaving, where we're all a bit warped, and I hope that you have a truly excellent week.